Good afternoon, Virgo. Let me tell you what happened. Not from your side. You already know your side. From their side. From inside the calculation they made. And what happened when the calculation produced a result they were not prepared for. Welcome. And stay with me. Because this one is going to name something that you have probably been trying to understand for a while. There was a test. I want to say that plainly because I think you already sensed it. Even if you could not name it exactly, even if it felt more like confusion than recognition at the time, something about the situation felt off, like the rules had changed without announcement, like the energy shifted in a way that did not quite make sense, given what had been established between you, given how things had been before that shift. What you were sensing was the particular energy of someone who has moved from being present to watching, from engaging genuinely to observing how you respond to their partial withdrawal, from being in the connection with you to standing slightly outside it and monitoring what you do. When the connection becomes less certain, that monitoring had a specific question inside it, the question they were trying to answer. With the test they were running, will they chase me? I want to speak about why people run this test, because I think understanding the why is important for what comes next. And because understanding the why does not mean excusing it. Those are two different things. And I want to hold both of them. At the same time, people who test whether someone will chase them are almost always people who are afraid of something specific, that expressing what they want directly would expose them to rejection is the most obvious one. The fear that if they simply said, I want more from you, I need to know you are not going anywhere. I am not sure where I stand with you, and I need reassurance. You might say no, or pull away, or be less than they hoped in response to that vulnerability. And so instead of the direct ask, they create a situation that invites the answer they need without requiring them to ask the question out loud. If you chase, it answers the question, you want them, you will pursue, they are worth the effort, without them having had to ask, and therefore without the risk of the ask being met with less than they hoped. The test is protection, misguided protection, but protection nonetheless. Now I want to tell you what happened. When the test was run on you, specifically, you did not chase, not because you do not care, not because you were playing a counter game, not because you made a strategic decision to not give them the response they were looking for, but because chasing is not who you are, not when someone has stepped back from you, not when something that was present becomes suddenly less present, without explanation, without reason. not when the energy that was warm becomes cooler and the presence that was consistent becomes inconsistent. You read that shift and you responded to it honestly, the way you respond to things, which is to give the space that seems to be being requested, to not push toward someone who appears to be pulling away, to maintain your own dignity in the face of something that felt like withdrawal, by not performing desperation to bring someone back who seemed to be choosing distance. You left, or you let the distance be, which to them looked like leaving, and now they are confused. I want to describe what that confusion actually looks like from the inside of their experience, because I think understanding it will help you navigate what comes next with clarity rather than reactivity. They ran a test with an expected outcome. The expected outcome was pursuit, demonstration of wanting proof that you value them enough to move toward them even when they moved away. Instead, they got silence or distance, or simply the absence of the pursuit they were waiting for. And that absence was not in the script, was not what they had calculated for, and has produced in them something they were not prepared to feel: uncertainty, real uncertainty of the kind that cannot be managed away, because the usual management tool, the test itself, did not deliver the information it was supposed to deliver. Instead, it delivered the opposite information, or what feels to them like opposite information, even though it is simply a different kind of truth than the one they were expecting to receive. I want to speak to the specific nature of their confusion, because it is more nuanced than it might appear, and the nuance matters for how you understand what they are going to do next. They are not confused because they do not understand what happened. They understand what happened. You did not chase. That is the data. They received it clearly. They are confused about what the data means, because in their internal framework, not chasing means not wanting, means the connection was not significant enough. To produce the effort of pursuit means they were wrong about what you felt, or what they mean to you, or the nature of what existed between you. And this is where it gets complicated for them. Something in them knows that that interpretation does not fully match what they knew about you before the test. What they observed, what they felt from you, what the connection actually was before they decided to test it. They're holding two incompatible things: the data from the test, which seems to say you do not want them, and everything they knew before the test, which said something different. And the contradiction between those two things is the specific texture of their confusion. I want to say something to you now about what you did and what it means, because I think you deserve to understand it in the fullest way. You passed the test, not in the way they intended, not by giving them the answer they were looking for, but in the more important way, the way that reveals character, rather than simply confirming compliance. You showed them something by not chasing something about who you are that is going to be more attractive to them in the long run than any amount of pursuit would have been. You showed them that you have standards, that you do not perform desperation. For someone who has chosen to withdraw, that your self-respect is intact, that you read energy accurately and respond to what is actually happening rather than to what you hope is happening or what you fear is happening. A person who chases when someone pulls away gives the tester exactly what they wanted, but teaches them nothing new about themselves or about the dynamic or about whether a real connection exists or whether the chaser has the kind of groundedness that makes a lasting relationship possible. A person who does not chase teaches the tester something they needed to know, even if it was not what they were looking for. What they needed to know is this: that you are someone who requires honesty, not tests. Someone who responds to directness, not games. Someone who will meet a real ask with a real answer, but who will not perform a response to a manufactured situation designed to produce a predetermined outcome without the vulnerability of actually asking for what is needed. That is what you taught them by not chasing, and now they are sitting with that lesson in the confusion of not having received what they expected, but having received something more true and more significant. I want to speak about what comes next, because the confusion they are in is not static. It is moving toward a resolution of one kind or another. And I want you to understand what that resolution is likely to look like. The confusion is going to push them toward clarity, the way confusion always does. When it becomes uncomfortable enough, when sitting in the not knowing is more painful than the risk of asking directly for what they need to know, they are going to reach out in some form with a directness that was not available to them before. When the test felt like a safer option than the honest ask, the lesson of what happened, of the test producing the wrong result, has taught them something about the cost of indirect communication, about what you lose when you protect yourself from the honest ask by replacing it with something designed to produce an answer without the vulnerability of the question. They lost ground with you. By running the test, ground they want back, and they are beginning to understand that the only way to get it back is to do the thing they were trying to avoid. Ask directly, honestly, with the full exposure that a direct ask requires. When that reach comes, and I believe it is coming, I want you to receive it with the full knowledge of what it took them to make it, because a direct ask from someone who defaulted to testing is a significant shift. It means they chose vulnerability over protection, real communication over strategic maneuvering, you over the comfort of the game. That deserves to be received fully with the same honesty that you brought to the situation. When you refused to chase, meet their honesty with yours. Tell them what you actually need from a connection, to feel safe in it, to invest in it fully. Without the management and the testing and the strategic withdrawal, that keeps things at a surface level, while both people wonder what the other actually feels. You did not chase, and that was the right thing. Not because it was clever, not because it was strategic, but because it was true to who you are and to what you need and to the kind of connection you deserve, which is one built on honesty, not on tests passed or failed, but on two people willing to say what they actually feel and ask for what they actually need and trust the answer they receive without manufacturing situations to force it. That kind of connection is what is possible between you. If both of you choose it, they are confused, but they are also, in the most important way, learning, and what they are learning is how to meet you in the real rather than the managed, because the managed did not work on you, and that is the best possible outcome of a test. That was never going to give them what they were actually looking for